Welcome to Penalty Box Radio Live, presented by Salas Realty Group. Salas Realty Group, your premier destination for Nashville, Tennessee real estate. I'm your host, Sean Smith. Joining me, as always, is Alex Doherty, who shared some exciting news yesterday, which we'll discuss a little bit more.
What? I don't know about this.
Well, stay tuned.
Okay.
Out there in Radio Land, because we will talk about it a little bit more a little later on in the show. Today on the show, Alex, things have been interesting. And I mean like that ancient curse, may you live in an interesting time, interesting.
Ooh.
Since we last graced the airwaves, the Preds had a dismal performance against the Matt Duchene and Craig Smith-led Dallas Stars at home. And faced a pretty stiff punishment from Coach Bruno and General Manager Trotz. But since then, they've been on a bit of a run. Of course, we heard something from Alex that will come to fruition on Monday, and the Milwaukee Admirals are 18 games deep into a win streak.
Ooh.
And, this is exciting, assistant coach Dan Highnote has a unique way of motivating players, which I'm excited to talk about.
I heard about this.
All of that coming up on Penalty Box Radio Live, plus the world-famous 3-on-3 draft at the end of the show. But we're going to get things started off quickly. We're going to get right into it. We're going to draw the ire of probably half of the people listening right now, which is a great way to start with controversy. Our puck drop topic, Alex, to you, Alex Doherty, is taking away the U2 concert a punishment or a reward?
Okay, I might disappoint you a little bit because I'm not going to go the troll route and say it's a reward for taking it away, because I just need to go ahead and let people know I am not a fan of U2. I don't really care about their music at all.
Wow.
Just not a fan. But I'm not going to say that was a reward to take away. I understand their power, their standing in the world of entertainment. I get it. However, I would say, and so I think it was a punishment for sure.
Okay.
But I think the punishment goes well beyond the U2 concert. I think the punishment is basically the last week has been the NHL hockey world just making fun of this team and embarrassing them for Daddy turning the plane around and saying we're not going on a vacation. And that to me is the biggest punishment. Not missing out on YouTube, but the sort of exposing them for getting grounded by Grandpa. So I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at with it.
Well, Alex, I think it's interesting that you're not a big U2 fan, considering how generous the band is. They very generously gave everyone their album for free, which I still can't seem to get rid of on my phone.
What phone? What do you have, an iPhone 3?
It just has followed my phones as I've updated. I don't know why. I think I do have an iPhone 3 at home.
No, I get it. I get why people like U2. I totally get it. It's just not my thing. I just don't care for the music. I do understand that they're wonderful people and good,
to share their music.
Good Samaritans and
you don't need to go on an apology tour, Alex. It's okay.
Okay.
Look, here's the thing, and I'm going to say I agree with you. It is not a reward as much as we'd like to joke about it, because shocker here, neither one of us are U2 fans. I'm not going to go into a lot of details.
You're not either?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, you let off made it sound like I was the weirdo that didn't like them. You don't like them either?
No, I have very controversial opinions about the Edge.
Okay. All right.
We won't get into it. This is not the show. It's not the time. It's not the place.
Let's move on.
Let's talk about hockey, Alex.
Okay,
That's what we came here to do, okay? They don't have a penalty box at the U2 concert, but if they did. All right, let's recap the week. And it's, like I said, it's been interesting since last we were here. Of course, things got off to a quick start on Thursday night when the Predators took on the Dallas Stars at home, and they suffered a 9-2 loss. We were both in attendance, and we all unanimously agreed that it was horrible.
Yeah.
A horrible loss. No one was happy.
Worst home loss. I mean, that's undeniable. I mean, they gave up the most goals, tied for the most goals they've ever given up. Biggest goal differential. The worst first period I've ever seen. There was nothing there that you could. I mean, Matt Duchene just scoring goals and playing the hits on Broadway. So
Matt Duchene put on 2 shows that night. Yeah. One on the ice, one on the stage at Tootsie's, I believe.
He did.
And that's the thing, is that if the guy that And let's just throw it out there. If the guy that we're pretty sure was being referenced in the quote back at the beginning of the free agency period, that Barry Trotz wants players who want to come to Nashville to win, not to retire, kind of made a statement that, look, you can say what you want to say, but right now you're paying me to not play for your team.
Yeah.
And 2 goals, they were big goals. They were exciting goals. Craig Smith saw some goal-scoring action. Ryan Suter contributed with assists. I mean, it was a Dallas Stars former Preds showdown. I mean, it was if you're a Stars fan or a fan of former Preds on the Dallas Stars, this was the game for you.
Yeah.
But post-game, that locker room was not very fun.
Yeah, and trust me, we are going to talk about the most recent 2 games. Like, we're going to talk about the St. Louis and Vegas game, but let's spend a little bit of time on this, because this I think this has been one of the most interesting weeks for this team in a very long time.
I agree.
I mean, I think there's been so much that's happened that is worth talking about. And I want to go back to actually the previous game, New Jersey.
Okay.
And that game was pretty disappointing. And we knew that one was we thought that was going to be like a wake-up call, and then it wasn't, right?
No.
And that, I think, is important to remember, because we know after the games, we go less than 10 minutes after the game, we're in the locker room talking to these guys, and you just always know what kind of mood they're in. But I think you and I both would agree, after the Dallas game was particularly bad, and they were in, like, they were mad at themselves in a way that we probably have never seen before.
I'd agree with that. I mean, I've seen Roman Josi as the captain of the team. He's got the hard job, and I mean that's part of being the captain. You're representing the team. That when the team loses, you're probably going to talk to Roman Josi. He's probably going to accept responsibility. He's going to take a lot of the blame, put it on himself. Whether that's true or not, he's going to do it. That's his job. And he's going to say that he himself needs to be better. I mean, that's kind of what we've gotten used to over the years, is that when the team loses, when there's a bad performance, Josi accepts responsibility. Josi says he needs to do better, and he just kind of deflects a lot of that attention off of the other guys on the team. As we're waiting, of course, to go in down there, the usual cast of characters makes their way through. You usually see coaches, you see healthy scratches. Usually there's a friendly hello or a look of approval, like, hey, guys, glad to see you here. But not that night. Not that night. Barry Trotz did not look happy.
The only other time I remember that happening was I think it was Ducks' loss or a Coyotes' loss at home. I think it was the Coyotes' loss at home earlier in the year when McDonough was still injured.
Yeah. And
so was Shen. And Trotz stopped them in the hallway and was like, when are you coming back?
Yeah, I remember you told me about it. I remember that.
So I think it was that type of atmosphere. But, and so then we find out Friday morning that these plans have changed, and we try to get confirmation of it. And over the weekend, we find out what happened. My opinion or my theory, I can't confirm this, but my theory is that they told him about it that night.
Before we went in the locker room.
After Dallas.
Between
maybe
the
even
game
before, yeah.
And us getting in the locker room.
Now, maybe that's logistically a little hard to do, because unless it was just we're canceling the trip, we're not going early, coming back here after St. Louis. Or it could have been that. I just find it the locker room was so weird when we went to that Dallas post Dallas game locker room. I feel like it had to be then, but it was definitely by Friday morning, because that was when we found out the plans had changed. So, now, but is it a punishment? Now, I mean, a lot of people have had time to talk about this, and I think my opinion is that I think it was worth it, and I think they needed to do it. Do professional athletes respond always to this kind of thing?
No,
not really. But this, I think, was a different one, because this was, I think it was like, to me, it's a different than saying, one common punishment, I guess you could call it a punishment, in the NHL relates to practice, right? It relates to either we're going to have practice or we're going to cancel practice. They can't add practices that aren't there. That's not something they can do.
Right.
But, are we going to have a practice or not? Or, you can have that as your kind of carrot punishment or reward thing. And then you can also add things like that they would want to do, like group things or whatever. But this particular one, taking away something that you had planned, is not one that you see very often.
No.
And it's a big one, too. And then on top of what I mentioned earlier, like, I mean, they have just been kind of the laughing stock of the league for this whole week because of what happened. They got their vacation canceled. I think that just sent a very interesting message to this team.
Well, it's definitely embarrassing, that you have to have it's like, I've got kids, and if they're grounded, they don't want anybody to know they're grounded. They don't want anybody to know why they're grounded. They just want to politely not show up at the things that they were supposed to go to, like sleepovers, et cetera, and just serve their punishment.
This was the equivalent of the parent, and I do not recommend any parents do this. I think this is awful parenting, but that makes their kid wear a sandwich board at the intersection that says I steal from my brother or something. Whatever it is.
Well, Elliot Friedman putting it out there for everybody. I mean, that's if you want to get the word out. I mean, there's a few people you can go to make sure it's heard. That's definitely one of them.
Yeah.
And there were shows that discussed it for the duration of the show.
Mm-hmm.
They talked about it during games that weren't that exciting. I mean, it was a big deal.
And the logistics here are crazy.
Canceled flights,
just
canceled tickets.
A normal flight. A normal rerouting of a flight for a professional team is enough, but canceling like a whole day of hotels, tickets for these things, meal plans, everything that went into this, I cannot imagine what the logistics behind that were. I mean, not to mention the money lost, but that's aside. I mean, I don't think that was a big deal, but I think that is just. They were really serious about this. This was a big deal.
Well, and look, here's the thing. Logistically speaking, when we were down going to the locker room, they're already packing up for that trip.
Yeah, right.
So it's not like they just, they come by these decisions lightly. They packed all that up. They're going to have to pack it all back up, bring it back to Nashville, and then pack it all back up again to take it to Las Vegas.
Yeah.
So, but we saw them win in St. Louis. We saw them win in Las Vegas. And coming up, we will discuss the response they had, specifically the Vegas game, when we get back from break. Preds fans, ready for the face-off? Just like hockey, home buying is all about strategy and timing. Salas Realty Group knows this game well. They're the MVPs of Nashville real estate, getting you the win with every transaction. Find your champion property at salasrealtygroup.com. Salas Realty Group, the power play for your home search. Welcome back to MLB Box Radio Live. MLB Box Radio is brought to you by Truvo Sports Laundry, Nashville's only sports mobile laundry service that uses ozone technology to clean the smelliest, dirtiest sports gear, such as hockey and football pads. The O3 process kills 98% of bacteria and 100% of viruses. If you've got a pile of nasty, filthy, stinky sports gear, either because you play rec leagues and can't be bothered to clean it, or you have teenagers that play sports, it's rough, then go to TruvoSports.com and sign up for a cleaning today. They will come to your house and everything. Truvo Sports Laundry, Nashville's only mobile sports laundry service. Welcome back, Alex.
Yeah.
Glad to see you still here after that break.
Yes.
Now, as we mentioned before, after the U2 concert was taken away from the team, they've had a pretty strong response since then.
Yeah.
Big win in St. Louis.
Controversial win.
Talk to me about it.
All right, so yeah, Colton Sissons got things started, and he felt good about that. But then when the Blues went up, tied it up, you kind of felt like, oh, here we go again. But the Predators just turned it on in that third period. They were the better team in the third period. Philip Forsberg gets on the board with a power play goal. Luke Schenn scores his first as a Nashville Predator.
Heck yeah.
But before that, Luke Evangelista scored a beautiful little breakaway where he deeps Jordan Binnington. And then old Jordan Binnington.
What?
He bends out. he does a Binnington. And high sticks him as he's coming around the net.
Boy.
A lot of Blues fans were not happy about this.
Why weren't they happy about it?
Well, they assumed that he was just checking his post. He was just getting in position, right?
Well, now, Alex, I know, from watching a lot of hockey, that goalies often check to make sure that their posts are still there with their stick. They could have disappeared.
It would be one thing if he was checking his post with his stick, but he was also standing on his post. He was on his post. So
you're telling me
that explanation was hogwash. Never made any sense. He clearly was trying to get into Evangelista's way. Do I think he was trying to hit him with the stick in the head? I really don't. I don't think he was trying to do that. I do think he was trying to hit Evangelista, though.
Right, I agree.
And the league agrees with me and you because they fined him $5,000.
Alex, I think he was trying to hit him in the head. I'm going to go a step further. This
Maybe.
guy is a known knucklehead.
I don't want to go that far because I don't think I think it would be pretty difficult to actually try to get him in the head specifically. But he obviously was trying to hit him somewhere.
He's a very skilled goaltender.
And him saying that's why. And the reason I think that is I think also his I'm going to apologize. I went up and apologized to Evangelista or whatever. I think that was him. I meant to hit you. I didn't mean to hit you in the head. I think that's probably what it was more like.
No, I still think he meant to hit him in the head.
Yeah.
I think if you're aiming to hit somebody, the goal is to make contact. You want to make as consequential contact as possible.
Yeah, but honestly, that was a big win. The Blues win was the most important win, of the road trip, and even though it's only just started, they had to get that one to start. If you lose that one to start, you're already behind.
Oh man!
And then with all the other games on the schedule for this 5-game road trip, they had to get that one first, and they did. So that was very, very important. UC Saros in that one. The Vegas win was perhaps the most impressive, I think. Well, not the biggest, but I think it was the most impressive.
Before we get to that win,
okay.
I want to say this. There's a chance. I don't know about you as a child, but I could occasionally be a rascal. And there were times when I was being punished for things, and it was like, you messed up, you got to get it corrected. You got 2 weeks to think about it. You're not going anywhere, not thinking about anything. But I'll be honest, I could turn it on when I needed to, and I would hope that maybe after a week of just being a good boy, that maybe my parents would give me a reprieve and cancel my 2 weeks and just give me 1 week. And I think, is there a chance there? I know that flights have been changed, but if you go and you win that game in St. Louis, could Barry say, all right, guys, we'll go see you too?
No.
No?
No way. No, you can't. No. I feel very strongly you cannot, after the first sign of good behavior, back down. No,
I feel like I
not.
turned out pretty good.
Well, that's fine, but I think the bigger issue is you logistically can't do that. But also, I think they've got to prove it beyond just one game now.
So let's talk about proving it, Alex.
Yeah,
talk to me about Vegas.
They proved it against Vegas. So the really interesting thing about the Vegas game is they were the better team start to finish.
Agree.
I mean, they absolutely took it to a very good Vegas Golden Knights team. I know they don't have Shea Theodore. I know they don't have Jack Eichel. But last time they played Vegas, that didn't matter either. They got beaten badly by them. So
wasn't Shea Theodore back? Wasn't this his first game back?
Wait, was he in this
I thought
game?
He was back. Now, look, I'm not currently up to date on all the Shea Theodore news, but I was pretty
Shea
sure
Theodore,
I heard them saying
you're right. He was in the game.
Again.
They haven't had him. Maybe it was his first game back.
It was his first game back, but still.
So yeah, but they didn't have Jack Eichel, and that's one of their best players. Anyways, it doesn't matter. They are a very good team. Aiden Hill in net. I think it was a very tough competition, and they blew them out. I mean, it was shot attempts were 2-1 for Nashville. Expected goals, they had almost double the expected goals at even strength. The power play and penalty kills were great for Nashville. I mean, and then on top of that, they got depth scoring.
Depth scoring is, that's something that has been severely lacking from this team.
So, I tried to look at the details on who played where, and it was a little mush because when you're on the road, the home team can match up against you, so you can't really do a lot of line matching. You can do it a little bit, but for the most part, it was blended. Like the O'Reilly line took on the top line most of the time, was matched up against the top line with Mark Stone, but it was kind of mixed up. So. I guess what I'm saying is the top line did its job in terms of occupying the attention of the Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah.
Even though they didn't get on the scoreboard until Nyquist got the empty netter. But it was the other guys. It was the Sissons, Glass, Trennan line, Jankowski, Novak, Evangelista, and McCarron, Smith, and Sherwood. That all three of those lines scored. They all had great pressure throughout, and they were just consistent, and it was really good to see that.
I was expecting that after the first period you would see a lot of pushback from the Golden Knights, but that didn't really happen until the third period.
It didn't, yeah.
And I think things got a little more competitive in the third, but
yeah.
I still think they didn't outplay the Preds in that period.
Yeah.
I still think they were the better team.
I do think that the Predators, they kind of opted for a more shoot first approach. They did a lot less playing for the better shot, and I think that was a good approach. I think that lended to them well because they got some rebounds, and that's how. I mean, they got the screen goal in front from Cole Smith, and I think that was a good strategy against that team. So I think you still want to see some better quality, and that's
right.
But that's what your first line does well. Your first line is going to always get quality. Those other three lines are going to have to get volume more than anything.
Right, and I think a big part of the performance, too, something I've noticed, and this is interesting, typically if you're going to see a defender kind of rushing into the zone and going up to the net along with the forward, it's typically going to be Roman Josi. But I noticed Jeremy Lauzon doing this.
Yeah.
I noticed Alex Carrier doing this. There's definitely been some kind of shift recently in that.
Yeah.
I think, I think defenders can get a bad rap sometimes.
We probably need to have – we have Tommy talk. We need to have what will be Lauzon? Lauzon? I'll come up with it. We need to talk about Jeremy Lauzon is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
He's been great.
Sure. No,
Jeremy Lauzon's had a great season.
I have very positive things about Jeremy Lauzon, and I think this wasn't I think what anyone was expecting this season. If you want to talk about someone who's been a breath of fresh air on the team, a little bit refreshing, it's got to be Lauzon's performance. And I've been, I'd really like maybe on our next show, Alex, and I think, tell me if you're down for this. Well, breaking news live, Penalty Box Radio live. Next time we're on the air, I'd really like to talk about hits.
Okay.
Because you can't have a real conversation about Jeremy Lauzon's season without discussing hits. And I don't think we have the time for it tonight. But
no.
But here's the thing, okay? Defenders get a bad rap, I think.
Okay.
And my son's a defender. I happened to talk to Al Iafrate. Are you familiar with Al Iafrate?
Yes.
So you probably
well, not exactly, but you told me about him, so yes.
Well, I ran into him a few weeks ago. You probably know him as the defender who had the hardest slap shot record for most of the 90s and a lot of the aughts. 105.2 miles
pretty
per
good.
hour. Man, it's pretty crazy. We were talking at a tournament my son was at, and he noticed that my son was a defender, and he was like, "Well, you've chosen a hard life." He's like, defenders, if there's a goal scored, they're never going to blame it on the forwards.
Right.
They really will look for excuses with the goalie, so a lot of times it's going to get hung on the defenders. And
Yeah, for sure.
Goals are exciting. Stopping goals isn't, unless, of course, you're the goalie. Everybody screams use when Saros stops something, but whenever Dante Fabro takes a slap shot to the shins, nobody really cares. They're like, okay, well, you're supposed to do that, Dante. Good job standing in the way. And there's no love. But we learned something interesting today from Dan Highnote. And I noticed this when we were in the locker room. I didn't want to say anything because it was after the Vegas game, and it was just such a rough environment in that locker room. But I noticed on Alex Carrier's locker there was a little figurine of the Cesar Romero Joker from the 1960s Batman show, and I was like, "What? How did this get here? This is really cool. Why does Alex Carrier have it in his locker?" And we learned today that Dan Highnote is using these as motivation for the penalty killers.
Yeah. And we don't know exactly what it's for, but I think it's awesome.
I mean, I guess you could say it's kind of like, like I know my son's baseball team, they get like a helmet sticker if they make a good defensive play. It's not specific things.
It's the helmet sticker for the penalty killer, right?
And I think they need the recognition. I saw Luzon has a figurine of Shredder from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, wow.
Really, it's just nice to see defense getting rewarded at this level.
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing. I think we need more of it. Now, when we get back after the break, Alex has had some big news recently, and since we're here in the studio, we have everyone's attention. We're going to talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
Well, oh, man. Okay. Yeah. So we'll do that after the break. And as we look ahead to the next Predator Showdown, it's the perfect time to plan your future in Nashville. Salas Realty Group is ready to assist, ensuring your real estate goals are met with the determination of a playoff chase. Visit SalasRealtyGroup.com and let's start mapping out your game plan. Salas Realty Group, where every closing is a championship victory. Penalty Box Radio Live is brought to you by the Music City Marauders. The Music City Marauders are proud to present their spring skills camp for your youth hockey players. This is a great 6-week opportunity to help get your player ready for spring tryout season. There are a few spots left, but hurry before they're gone. Head over to www.musiccitymarauders.com to sign up or get on the wait list. All right, first off, let's be realistic here. What a great lead-in song.
I don't even know what this is. What is this?
It's the Booty Brothers.
If you remember back to last week, you'll know that your old buddy Sean here is a big fan of the Beastie Boys.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
And that is the
I only listen to you two.
well, that's they gave their music to you for free. Okay.
So yeah, let's talk about the new job, huh?
Okay. Alex is going to tell you about this.
So yeah, I announced yesterday that I'm going to become next Monday. I'm going to become the new beat reporter for the Tennessean, covering the Nashville Predators. This has been in the works for a little while now, and I'm very, very excited about the opportunity. It has been something that I've been working towards. Being a full-time, reporter reporter on this team has been something I've been working for a very long time, and I could not be more excited to get it started. However, it does mean that things are going to be a little different with Penalty Box Radio. Now, for you, the listener, it probably won't affect you at all. And I don't think that you'll notice any difference at all. Especially if you've been listening to this the whole time tonight and haven't noticed a difference, there you go. Because it's basically going to be like this. Sean is going to take the lead on the shows, and it's basically his show. It's his company now. He's taking it over, and he's going to lead the show, and I'm going to be his guest as long as he wants me. So I'll, of course, be representing the Tennessean starting next Monday. Starting with next week's show, I'll be officially representing the Tennessean on the show. And so that means, obviously my allegiances are to them, but that happens a lot in this town where you have a person who is working for a publication but also has a show on the radio. So it's no different than that. So there may be some times where I can't be on the show for whatever reason. Maybe there's news I have to work on, but for the most part, nothing about this show really changes. So if you like it and you've been enjoying it since we started back in October, keep listening.
Yeah, and look, I want to clarify something, and then I want to add something. Let me clarify. Alex saying that this is my company now. It was our company before.
Yeah.
It was a 50-50 split, which just full disclosure, So now it's me, and again, Alex is on the show. Alex and I are very good friends. We remain good friends. And let me add this.
Unless you beat me in the draft.
Well, that happens about 40% of the time. So let me say this. Alex kind of referred to saying that he's been working toward this goal for a long time. And let's be real honest here. You look at some of the people, your favorite Nashville Predators local coverage personalities. A lot of the people that do this, like me, like Alex up until Monday, just I could name a ton of names. I'm not going to. We don't have time for that. But yeah. I think I want to make sure everybody knows, very few of the people covering this team are able to do it full time.
Yeah.
Very few people covering this team are able to make a living wage doing it.
Correct.
This is, for the most part, it's a work of passion.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at Alex, which I personally I've followed Alex for a long time. I was very excited to join Alex on the Forecheck, where he was, I guess, co-editor at the time. I was very excited to join him at A to Z Sports, and I was very excited to do Penalty Box Radio with him. I don't think, just to have my moment where I can share these accolades, I don't think there's anybody out there that's a better candidate for this job. Nobody asked me for a recommendation, but if they had, I would have been like, you would be insane to not hire him. While obviously, as the former co-owner and now full owner of Penalty Box Radio, this does impact me.
Yeah.
Because I'm losing my business partner. But
sure.
The reality here, this is Alex's full-time job.
Mm-hmm.
This is what's going to pay his bills. This is what's going to feed his family. For me, I've got a full-time job. I mean, Alex had one before, obviously, but I've got a full-time job, and honestly, not really looking to have a full-time job doing this. I like doing it at the level I am. It's something I do out of passion. I want to be more involved than just watching the games and getting angry online. So I'll watch the games and get angry on the radio and online.
Yeah. And I thank you for saying that. I really appreciate it. And the transition has been difficult because I didn't want to leave penalty box. I really didn't. But the opportunity is just something I couldn't pass on. I do want to just give a quick shout out to Paul Skrbina, because he is he's a big reason why I think that this happened. I think he's been Paul has been in the position for a very long time, and he is still at the Tennessean in a different role. And I think he and I are going to work perfectly together. He does a lot of he's going to be an enterprise reporter. He does a lot of larger stories. Like if you saw the one he did about Partner, several of things like that. He's done a really good job there. So I want to thank him, and then also all the people at 102.5. I mean, like this has been a really fun journey, and I want to stress, like I'm not leaving. Like I'm still going to be here, but I am just like kind of a permanent guest right now. So like I'm only here if Sean wants me to. If he doesn't want me to be here next week, I won't. So
maybe we need to start throwing some of the 3-on-3s. I don't know.
That's right.
Maybe just say something that will make you lose. And I'll say too, I really believe that the vast majority of people that are covering the team, we all get along pretty well.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not like, we all hate each other and it's a big competition. I mean, a lot of us are in the same boat, and I think we all get along really, really well as a group. And it's always been a fun environment going up and covering games on Media Row. And the beauty of this is that Alex and I will both get to cover the games at the same time. So that's not really something that's happened much, except for the season where I was doing a lot of covering for On the Forecheck and you were covering for A to Z. So,
all right, well,
let's move on.
Let's talk about Tommy Novak.
It's Tommy time.
It's Tommy time. There were some rumors that came out. Well, rumors. Elliot Friedman was on 102.5 The Game earlier today, and dropped a little nugget about, and in his written version of the 32 Thoughts podcast, he alluded to Tommy Novak being someone that the Predators are trying to sign, that their preference is to sign him, but that they would consider maybe consider moving him, but that they want to sign him. And this is based on his conversations. Excuse me. Sorry about that. His conversations not with the team or with Novak's representation, but with other people, that he would want something in the neighborhood of $4 million in terms of an AAV. What is your initial reaction to that number?
So $4 million, and I'm assuming that's per year, right? I mean, that's kind of the way. It wasn't like
per game,
$2 million per season
$4 million
for 2 years
per goal.
Well, let's talk about a few other players on the ice right now. All right. Anyway, no. Here's the thing. I think $4 million is actually kind of high.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not trying to take anything away from Tommy Novak. I mean, for goodness sakes, Alex, at the beginning of the season, we were going to have a regular segment called Tommy Time where we talked about how great Tommy Novak was, and then he kind of cooled down.
Yeah. Here's the problem with Tommy Novak and guys like him. When you are – okay, if you're a 23, 24-year-old player and you have the season he had last year and then the season he had this year, you can still treat it like – I still think his ceiling is pretty good, right? You can be like, I'm going to look at more the good side rather than the downside, and look at the potential in what Novak can produce, and being a 60-point player. I mean, he was on pace for like 60 or 70 points last year if he played a full season. But he's not a 23, 24-year-old guy. He's a 27-year-old guy.
Right.
He's an unrestricted free agent.
Yeah.
So you have to look at the numbers and look at his production in the NHL much closer.
Right.
And you have to be a lot more critical, to be honest. You have to be a lot more critical of his actual numbers on the ice, because if you're not, you are ignoring the truth, and that is that he's pretty much developed as a player at this point. He's not going to get much better.
Yeah, you don't see a lot of development at
Right.
this age. It's pretty much you are who you are. And I mean, you have to think if $4 million
Yeah.
is a number that's out there and other teams are willing to offer that and the Predators aren't, I'd say he probably walks.
So he's got 78 points in 123 games. I'm sorry, and he's 26. He'll be 27 next year, so that's the important part. I mean, can you really say at this point that he's more the 60-point pace player rather than the 40-point player, 40-point pace player that he is this year? I don't know that you can. And could it be somewhere between? Could it be worse? Could it be better? That's a really tricky thing. So I think that's where they stick. And I think $4 million is too high. I think it's more like $3 million.
I think you're probably right. I don't think you're going to get a lot as a rental trade either. I don't think you're going to get
I don't think so either.
a lot back that's going to make it worth moving him at this point, unless there's just something out there somebody's offering that you can't ignore.
And I'd like to see him sign him. I really do. I think they need offensive pieces like him. I think he's creative. He's not a physical guy, but I think he's got a lot of skill, and I think they should try to sign him. $3 million would be fine. $4 is too much.
I'm with you on that. Look, coming up after the break, we are going to talk about the Admirals. We're going to give a preview of the upcoming games for the Predators, and of course, we will have our 3-on-3 draft with a special guest judge, which we will tell you about when we come back from the break. The show's almost over, but your real estate journey is just beginning. With Salas Realty Group, you're always on the winning team. Their dedication to clients is as relentless as the Preds on a power play. Lace up for your real estate play at SalasRealtyGroup.com. Salas Realty Group, where every deal is a hat trick. All right, everybody, welcome back to Penalty Box Radio Live. We're here for our final segment. Very exciting segment every week. We're going to start by talking about the Milwaukee Admirals, who earlier today played in Chicago, going for their 18th win in a row, and of course they were successful. This is a pretty incredible feat here. Not only is that a franchise record, but they're creeping ever closer to an AHL record, which is still pretty high, but they just keep winning, Alex.
They do. And Cody Hodgson scored. That was awesome.
It's really interesting here. I mean, I want to point out, I know that the information is out there that Hodgson was forced to retire quite a while back at a very young age. And I want to point out, like a couple of years ago, he was like at Fort Ice working like with youth on the ice at learn to skate and stuff like that. My kids were out there with them, and I had to explain to them, like, you realize this is the guy that was helping you a few years ago.
Yeah.
And they're really fascinated by the fact that he's been able to come back and play.
And Hodgson probably only in the lineup because the team called up Afanasyev and Jankowski, leaving a little spot there. I mean, not to say that he couldn't make the lineup, but like he wasn't getting in the everyday minutes there.
Well, and they're playing 11 forwards, 7 defenders,
right?
As well,
and they're short on forwards, right? Exactly. So yeah, the Admirals 18 games in a row. Askarov with another shutout, and friend of the show Zach LaRue, he scored.
Yeah,
that's
two
great.
Two goals, Alex.
An empty netter, right?
He had an empty netter there to make it 3-0, and then Hodgson's goal came after they put their goalie back in.
And my gosh. If you haven't seen the Askarov's he had 2 saves today that were just otherworldly. One was on a breakaway. He has a diving poke check to clear the puck, but then has to get back in net because the attacker got the puck back, and he makes a diving glove save, which was just beautiful. I mean, every time you watch it, it's like, how is he this athletic? But then you see the second one that might be even better. That was a cross-ice pass to none other than Rocco Grimaldi.
Yeah.
And he has to dive all the way across the goal crease and gets it with his glove. It's not a clean catch, but he stops it.
Doesn't matter.
Man, those 2 saves were amazing. And then of course he does the goal tip celebration, which is great.
Like I said before, the goalies get all the credit for those stops.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So you stop something like that, you're getting applause. People are cheering. Everybody's happy.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was just going to say, should we go ahead and bring in our guest?
We can. I think now might be the time. Let's go ahead. He can be with us as we preview the upcoming games. But we've got a special guest tonight, right here at the end of the show,
judging our 3-on-3 draft. Is that right?
A celebrity special guest judge, the tribal chief of 102.5, Chase McCabe.
What's up, guys?
How's it going, Chase? Welcome to the show.
Doing fantastic. Excited to be a part of this and be a celebrity judge. I use the word celebrity quite loosely, but excited about that.
Well,
so
I didn't know you were.
having me.
I didn't know you were the tribal chief. That was a new term to me.
Well, it's a wrestling term.
Oh.
And so young Connor behind the glass is a fellow wrestling fan like me.
It's a way of life, gentlemen.
Wanted to acknowledge his tribal chief. So, that's okay. I appreciate it. But, hey, I do want to say this. Alex, congratulations to you. The Tennessean has gained a great person to cover the team. So, very excited for you.
Thank you.
In your new news. And going to be cool. You know, you've covered this team for a long time. You and I would pass each other in the hallways. We both were going in post-game and talking to players and all those things, and so you've worked hard, and you definitely deserve it, so I'm very, very happy for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, and I'm glad that I still get to, come and do this show, too. I mean, it's not like I'm really going anywhere, so, it's...
Well, I was going to talk to you about that later, but just kidding.
We need to see you in the hallway.
So, well, the fun thing is now we're about to do something that has nothing to do with hockey at all, and you get to help us with that.
Okay.
Yeah, are you
Sean,
familiar? Are you familiar with the setup here? Like
I'm going to need a little bit of just once over here.
Okay, so again, every week at the end of the show, we do a 3-on-3 draft where we each draft 3 of something.
Okay.
Sometimes it's very specific. Sometimes it's very open to interpretation. Tonight is most likely one of those nights, as we are drafting moons.
Moon draft.
It's a moon draft, in my opinion, the number 1 sky orb. What even is the sun, Alex? I don't know. Who cares?
Give me those beams.
Give me those beams.
All right. Who goes first?
Alex gets to go first.
All right. My first draft pick in the moon draft is a moon pie.
Oh, that's good.
Moon pie,
I'm going to say, listen.
chocolate preferably.
Let me add here that
You can't add to my draft.
no, because you've chosen well,
Okay.
and I'm going to tell you, the moon pie. You get a moon pie for free when you eat at Martin's Barbecue, which I'm still saying. Look,
Oh.
Martin's Barbecue. I talk about you a lot for free. If you wanted to pay me to do it, it would be even better. And trust me, I am well versed in your menu. But you get a moon pie for free there. It's become the highlight of my son's trip to Martin's Barbecue.
My first pick is the moon pie.
Moon pie is a great pick.
All right.
I'm going to go with my first pick. Is The Dark Side of the Moon,
Dark Side of the Moon.
the album by Pink Floyd.
Great album.
Probably
That was on my list.
Yeah, I mean it has to be.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to talk about great albums, you've got to talk about that in the top 3, which may be another draft. But
I'm appreciating the creativity thus far, gentlemen.
well,
All right, my second pick. One of the most just beautiful and romantic songs of all time, Harvest Moon by Neil Young. Harvest Moon is my second pick. Was that on your list?
yes, Harvest
was it?
Moon. Yes, of course.
I could do a
Great
pretty
song.
I could do a pretty good Neil Young impression. I'm not going to lie.
You know,
I'm gonna do it now, but-
Who among us, Alex? I too have dabbled in the Neil Young impersonation. For everything that U2 is not, Neil Young is. Okay, that again, great song. The album Harvest is also great. Let's go. And it's funny when you said song, I was like, oh, he's gonna do my next pick. I don't really know if this counts or not. Maybe I should.
Second thoughts. Hesitant. Are you taking best moon available, or are you going with the moon that fits your team best? You got to think about that.
You got to listen to the board.
I don't think it's.
Check your moon board.
It may not actually be a moon, just a song with moon in the title. Okay, so let's do this. We're going to go with the Blue Moon of Kentucky.
I think that counts.
Okay, that works.
Oh, that was not the original choice. The original choice was
okay,
Moon
okay.
River, which might be good for a river draft.
You still could have drafted it. You just gave it away.
I would have accepted that as the judge.
I don't know. I would have felt like it was stolen valor if I'd won.
And my third pick, I'm gonna draft Keith Moon. The Who drummer.
Should have gone with Keith Moon. for my second
Was that on
pick,
your
though.
board and you just let him sit there?
I got excited.
Wow, I think I'm crushing you in this, but that's just
Oh.
me. Anyways, go ahead.
Blue Moon of Kentucky is a pretty solid song, man.
Okay.
All right. This one's probably what's going to push it over the edge for me. I feel very, very strong about this. We're going to go with the gibbous moon because, in my opinion, the crescent moon, especially a waxing crescent moon,
No one cares about the
gets
waxing
way
crescent.
too much love.
Man.
It's all about gibbous moon
So
for me.
overrated. Waxing crescent, most overrated
Yeah.
moon phase.
Oh, most overrated moon phase. Gibbous moon's
Definitely.
where it's at. I don't care which part of the waxing, waning, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Gibbous moon is the best moon.
All right.
And
so
that's it.
that's the draft. So I have Moon Pie, Harvest Moon, and Keith Moon. You have Dark Side of the Moon, Blue Moon of Kentucky, and the Gibbous Moon.
Yeah.
Chase, our guest judge, who wins today's moon draft?
Look, this is very tough, and the hard part in all of this is there were some pretty good moons left on the table.
I agree.
Sailor Moon was left on the table. Goodnight Moon, a fantastic
Oh,
book.
that is good.
That
Was
is,
left on the table.
On the table for sure.
Yeah,
And the song that we're having in the background, Man,
Man
on
on
the
the
Moon.
Man on the Moon, yeah, in a movie. You could have gone song and movie there.
That's true. That's true.
Look, this is a tough one, but I am going to give the very slight edge to Alex.
Yeah. Yes.
Do I hear the booth cheering in there?
Booth is cheering.
I'm just disappointed you left out Jackie Moon. That's my
See, that's another one.
or Warren Moon. One of those two.
Yeah,
would've
we
been good.
discussed Warren Moon.
Yeah.
There's some off-field issues there.
It was Keith Moon for me.
Keith, yeah,
Keith
well,
Moon, yeah.
because he's one of my favorite drummers
Keith
of all
Moon
you
was
go.
incredible. Well, Chase, thank you for joining us today on Penalty Box Radio Live, and listeners, thank you for listening.
Tell us what's coming up next, Chase.
Well, the pregame to the pregame is coming up next. Willie Donnet going to join me from L.A., and we will preview the previewing of
Nice.
the game against the LA Kings.
Excellent.
Is that a double preview?
It's a double preview.
How about
Wow,
that?
That's exciting. Well, again, appreciate you coming on and judging, even if it didn't work out in my favor.
Thanks,
Chase,
guys.
thank you. Thanks for listening to Penalty Box Radio Live, presented by Salas Realty Group. Salas Realty Group, your premier destination for Nashville, Tennessee real estate. Also thanks to Truvo Sports Laundry and the Music City Marauders. We'll see everyone next week. Alex, you got any last words?
That's it. See everyone next week.